Is it going to be horrible?
Yep.
You're always looking for ideas for films, and I thought, especially at that moment in time in my life where I'd done a succession of scripts that have just got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to do, to actually have, there's an idea set in one location, and it's a ritual to make manifest your guardian angel, and that's bonkers, and that's sufficiently bonkers to build a story around. So that was my starting point.
I'd want it immediately.
I knocked a draft off in working at 10 pages a day in about nine days. I wanted this idea that, they were doing a dark thing squirreled away somewhere in the edge of civilization.
This is your last chance to back out.
Seal it.
And we drafted for a year. We didn't even though it's a low-budget script, we treated it properly to finesse it, to get the arcs right, to get everything right.
Liam knew exactly what he was doing. He thought it all through, mapped it out so precisely. I was really impressed with how he put it all together. But it all comes from the characters, really, and the way he builds the tension and the dynamic between them.
I'm taking the language of social realism and then using that as a basis to make the magic more real. So I wanted someone who was grounded. What I wanted was the idea that he was a working class kid off the council estates who'd found this avenue and gone off and empowered himself at the expense of everything.
I've done this 3 times. Once it worked, twice it didn't.
I really responded to the script because Liam had written this character that was a shaman, yet he wrote him just like a bloke. He was like that really appealed to me because he was a very very ordinary, rough around the edges sort of guy, but had these amazing, weird skills. People get into all sorts of things, don't they? He could be obsessed about sport. He could be obsessed about whatever, but he happened to be obsessed about magic. Just a very intense and damaged person who has become a bit of a bully himself, and but with a heart, hopefully.
We have to progress very carefully from now on.
People often play occultists in films and in literature and what have you. It's a bored aristocrat is generally the thing. So we're playing against that. It's to unsettle the audience. It's to take what should be solid ground and turn it into quicksand. So you don't quite know where you are, what is true. It unsettles us and unshackles us from reality.
I'm going to unshackle the house from the world.
What I want to do is build this pressure cooker. In lots of films, what they do is they build you up and then boom, and then they drop you. You know what I mean? So you get relief and there's a catharsis there. I just keep going like that. So I never give you that kind of, that relief, that catharsis. So it gets really, really uncomfortable, but I do it incrementally throughout the film.
So this is my first big, serious role. That was the biggest challenge for me, was to get through that and become, think of it in entirely an actorly way. No comedy to fall back on. It was a challenge physically, yeah. It was really difficult because we were in a filthy house in Dublin for a month doing a ritual, It looked just like it did in the film. It was filthy, there was no toilets, it's that sort of thing.
Well, the ritual does act as the backbone for the plot. It's what it's grounded in. It's almost an ideal low-budget idea because a house in one location is really a road movie. You're hitting certain things, you've got beats and things within it. But the ritual thing is also great because it gives you a visual side, It gives you scope for beauty.
Brilliant, like your style.
When you read books about how to write horror films or how to write, they say the enemy has got to be, or the supernatural forces are clearly defined, yeah? The most scary thing is when they're not defined at all, when you are staring into an abyss. You're not staring at a baddie, you're staring at an open door. And that's what's scary.
I think it's all the better for not having jumps and scares and cheesy things. It really gets inside you.
It's still astonishing to me that I made a film that was in my head, and now here we are, for instance, talking about it, and critics are talking about it, and audiences are talking about it. And sometimes you sit down of an evening and think, God, I did that. I mean, obviously with all the help of everybody, but it's still, it's a kind of humbling thing. I would describe it as a horror film, and horror fans will get a lot out of it if they keep watching till the end.